Hello and welcome to our daily news roundup here on Atlantic TV. I am Nkechi Tejere. Here are our top stories. Federal government ready to adjust policies of a Middle East crisis. Fubara to swear in 5 new Rivers commissioners. Dangote refinery cuts petrol price by 100 naira. Women hold only 64% of men's legal rights, says UN. Rose Senior says Club World Cup win won't matter against PSG. Now to the news in full. The federal government of Nigeria says it is ready to adjust economic policies as rising tensions in the Middle East threaten global energy markets and financial stability. The Federal Ministry of Finance, Nigeria, says the government is closely monitoring geopolitical tensions in the Middle East and reviewing possible economic implications for Nigeria. In a statement issued by the ministry's Assistant Director of Information and Public Relations, Uloma Amadi, the government said the Economic Management Team Nigeria has begun assessing potential risks to the economy. The team, chaired by the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, reviewed developments in global energy markets and their possible domestic impact. Officials identified 3 key channels through which the crisis could affect Nigeria: volatility in global crude oil and gas markets, reduced capital inflows into emerging economies, and disruptions to international shipping and supply chains. The ministry also warned that instability around strategic routes such as the Strait of Hormuz could drive up energy prices and freight costs. Authorities say they are tracking several indicators including crude oil prices, exchange rate movements, capital flows, and inflation trends. However, officials warn that the escalating crisis involving the United States, Israel, and Iran could send shockwaves through Nigeria's economy. Despite the global uncertainty, the government says Nigeria's economic reforms and recent growth figures place the country in a stronger position to manage external shocks. The Nigerian Army has reaffirmed its commitment to stronger military collaboration with the South African Army to enhance regional security across Africa. According to the Nigerian Army, the partnership is aimed at strengthening training, operational knowledge, and military preparedness in tackling emerging security threats across the continent. Chief of Army Staff Y.D. Shaibu noted that closer collaboration among African militaries is critical in confronting terrorism, insurgency, and other complex security challenges. He highlighted Nigeria's operational experience in counter-terrorism operations in the northeast under Operation Hadin Kai, where troops continue to battle insurgent groups using improvised explosive devices and asymmetric tactics. Shaibu added that professional military exchanges are already ongoing, with Nigerian officers attending training programs in South Africa, while South African officers serve as instructors in Nigerian institutions such as the Army War College, Nigeria. Speaking during the visit, South African Army Chief Lawrence Kulekani Mbatha said his delegation is keen to study Nigeria's battlefield experience in counter-terrorism operations. He also noted that South Africa could support Nigeria with technical expertise in aviation maintenance and pilot training as both countries explore deeper military cooperation. This comes as the Chief of Army Staff Y.D. Shaibu received his South African counterpart Lawrence Kulekani Mbatha during an official visit to Army headquarters in Abuja. Both military leaders say sustained training exchanges, joint exercises, and technical collaboration will strengthen defense cooperation and promote stability across Africa. Governor Siminalayi Fubara is set to swear in 5 new commissioners cleared by the Rivers State House of Assembly. During plenary, the Rivers State House of Assembly, led by Speaker Martin Amewule, approved 5 of the nominees while declining confirmation for 4 others. Lawmakers cited concerns including alleged poor performance, documentation inconsistencies, and petitions from constituents against one of the nominees. Following the screening, the House directed that a formal communication be sent to Governor Siminalayi Fubara to proceed with the swearing-in of the confirmed candidates. According to a statement by the Secretary to the State Government, Dagogo Wokoma, the ceremony will take place at the Executive Council Chambers of Government House in Port Harcourt. Those to be sworn in include Tonye Belgam, Professor Temple Nwafo, Dr. Peters Nwogo, Dr. Luke Kenneth, and Amatri Edward Hatford. The confirmation follows a screening exercise by lawmakers after the governor submitted a list of 9 nominees for positions in the State Executive Council. The swearing-in ceremony is scheduled for 1 p.m. today, with the commissioners designate expected to assume duties immediately as members of the Rivers State Executive Council. Police in Cross River State have intervened after a violent clash between rival factions of the African Democratic Congress. Witnesses say the clash stemmed from an internal dispute within the African Democratic Congress, with no evidence linking the confrontation to the ruling party as widely speculated on social media. Security personnel from the Nigerian Police Force were quickly deployed to the area to prevent further violence and maintain public order. Police sources confirmed that leaders of the two factions have been invited for dialogue with the Commissioner of Police as authorities attempt to resolve the dispute. The police public relations officer of the command, Sunday Etokpa, says the situation is under control and urged residents to remain calm. The party has recently faced internal tensions in the state, with growing concerns over factional disagreements and allegations of bias within its national leadership. The incident occurred on Tuesday in Calabar, where security operatives blocked access to a venue scheduled for a factional meeting. Police say investigations are ongoing while efforts continue to restore unity and stability within the party in Cross River State. Nigeria's largest refinery, the Dangote Refinery, has reduced the price of petrol at its loading gantry by 100 naira per litre. Officials at the Dangote Refinery confirmed that the gantry price of petrol has been reduced from 1,175 naira to 1,075 naira per litre. Petrol distributed through coastal supply channels will now sell for about 1,050 naira per litre due to additional marine logistics costs. The refinery also announced a reduction in diesel prices, with the product now selling at 1,430 naira per litre, down from 1,620 naira industry data from oilprice.com shows that Brent crude recently dropped sharply, falling from above $100 per barrel to around $87. Refinery officials say the price adjustment reflects the volatility in global crude markets, partly driven by geopolitical tensions, including the ongoing United States-Iran tensions. The price adjustments follow a sharp drop in global crude oil prices, with Brent crude falling below $90 per barrel, while the refinery says it will continue to review prices in line with movements in the international crude oil market and domestic supply conditions. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved a fiscal incentive package aimed at unlocking the long-delayed Bonga Southwest Aparo project. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited says the presidential approval will pave the way for the long-awaited final investment decision on the Bonga Southwest Aparo project, which has been stalled for nearly 2 decades. The project is operated by Shell Nigeria Exploration and Production Company, a unit of Shell plc, in partnership with international oil firms and the National Oil Company. According to Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, the approved fiscal framework includes enhanced production tax credits and the resolution of a previous dispute settlement agreement. Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPC, Bayo Ojulari, says the decision marks a turning point for the project and signals renewed investor interest in Nigeria's deep water petroleum assets. Once operational, the offshore development is expected to produce about 150,000 barrels of crude oil per day and 140 million standard cubic feet of gas daily. Officials say the move could attract up to $20 billion in foreign investment and revive investor confidence in Nigeria's offshore oil sector. The project could also generate more than 5,000 jobs and forms part of Nigeria's strategy to attract over $100 billion in new energy investments by the year 2030. You're watching our daily news roundup here on Atlantic TV. We'll go on a short break and we'll return with news stories on the foreign scene and on sports. To stay tuned.
Don't miss out on exciting news, events, and more. Stay connected by following us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Atlantic Media and TV.
Welcome back. On to the foreign scene. The United Nations says women around the world still enjoy only 64% of the legal rights available to men. In an opinion article released to mark International Women's Day, Antonio Guterres says gender inequality remains one of the world's most pressing human rights challenges. According to the United Nations, discriminatory laws in many countries still limit women's ability to own property, work freely, or seek divorce. Guterres noted that even where legal protections exist, women often face barriers in accessing justice, courts, and legal support. He also raised concerns about the underrepresentation of women in political leadership and corporate decision-making structures across the globe. The UN chief called on governments to dismantle discriminatory laws, invest more in girls' education and maternal health, and strengthen actions against gender-based violence. He further urged greater inclusion of women in peace negotiations and climate policy discussions, noting that women are often among the most vulnerable to the impact of climate change. The warning came from UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres in the message marking International Women's Day. Guterres says advancing gender equality will accelerate sustainable development, strengthen peace, and expand opportunities for women and girls worldwide. The New Zealand Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade says the escalating Middle East conflict could drive up global oil prices and fuel costs for New Zealand. A new report by the New Zealand Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade says tensions involving the United States, Israel, and Iran pose a major risk to global energy supply. Around 20% of the world's oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz, making the route one of the most critical energy corridors globally. Although New Zealand no longer imports crude oil directly from the Gulf region, the country relies on refined petroleum products from Asian economies including South Korea, Singapore, Malaysia, and Japan, which depend heavily on Middle Eastern crude. The report warns that any disruption to Gulf supplies could force refineries to compete for alternative sources, pushing global oil prices higher. Energy markets have already reacted to the tensions, with Brent crude oil rising to more than $83 per barrel. Officials say a prolonged surge in fuel prices could increase business costs, affect transportation and fertilizer prices, and place additional pressure on household spending. The report also warns that escalating conflict could disrupt global shipping and aviation routes across the Middle East, forcing vessels to reroute through longer corridors such as around the Cape of Good Hope, increasing freight costs and transit times. Officials warn that disruptions to oil shipments through the Strait of Hormuz could significantly impact global energy markets. The report says the scale of the economic impact will depend on how long the conflict lasts and whether disruptions to global energy supply routes intensify. Away from that, now to sports news. Head coach of Chelsea Football Club, Liam Rossignol, says last year's FIFA Club World Cup triumph over Paris Saint-Germain FC will have no impact on their upcoming Champions League clash. The two European giants meet again in the round of 16 in the UEFA Champions League, with the first leg set for the Parc des Princes in Paris. Chelsea manager Liam Rossini says his team must focus on the present when they face Paris Saint-Germain FC in the Champions League. The London club defeated PSG 3-0 in last year's FIFA Club World Cup final at MetLife Stadium, but Rossini insists the previous result holds little relevance for Wednesday's encounter. The 41-year-old coach, who replaced Enzo Maresca earlier this year, says PSG remains a formidable side under manager Luis Enrique. Rossini also confirmed that defender Levi Colwill has returned to training, while winger Jamie Gittens is available for selection ahead of the crucial tie. The first leg showdown in Paris is expected to be a tightly contested encounter, with both teams aiming to secure an early advantage before the return leg next week. Head coach of Real Madrid CF, Alvaro Arbeloa, says his side should not feel inferior ahead of their Champions League clash with Manchester City FC. The Spanish Giants will head into the last 16 first leg without injured star forward Kylian Mbappe, who is sidelined with a knee sprain. Speaking ahead of the UEFA Champions League showdown at the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium, coach Alvaro Arbeloa insisted his team must remain confident despite key injuries. The manager confirmed that Kylian Mbappe missed training due to a knee sprain, while players including Jude Bellingham, Rodrigo and Eder Militao are also unavailable. Abelio says Vinicius Jr. will carry greater attacking responsibility as Madrid aim to challenge the reigning European contenders. Meanwhile, Pep Guardiola, who leads Manchester City FC, has urged his players to remain fearless and stay true to their playing style as they pursue a place in the next round. The high-profile encounter pits record 15-time champions Real Madrid FC against the 2023 winners Manchester City FC in what is widely expected to be one of the standout ties of the round. And with our sports news to come to the end of our daily news roundup for today here on Atlantic TV. Do well to join us on our social media platforms for more news stories and headline updates. Thank you so much for watching. I am Nkechi Tejere. Have a pleasant day.